When I look through my archer commanders, I feel quite impressed. There's only one commander archer-wise that I haven't maxed, and that's Cyrus, and I will work on Cyrus. But then I want to wait and see what the new archer commander comes before I do that. And for today's video, let's go through all the archer commanders that we have. So you obviously start the game with YSG, and he is one of the best still after like 4 years. And then you get access to Elcid. Elcid is absolutely useless. Maybe a little use in KvK 1, nothing after. And then you get the excellent archer commander Tomyris with her unique poison debuff, and the only thing is Tomyris kind of has to be used with Edward early on, and Edward is kind of not that good. I mean, if you're a whale, then really good because you can rally, but after KvK 3 he kind of falls hard. But you can still use Tomyris early game with Charles. Some people do that, and late game there's many other options. Now speaking of options, we'll take you through all the best archer pairings, but before we do that, let's go through the cutscene where you go through the process of liking and subscribing, and then potentially joining our Discord for commander talent trees, equipment guide, and so on. Now that you had that moment, let's look at the first and the best possible archer march for open field. And yes, it does include YSG, the first archer commander you kind of get access to, and the primary to YSG will be Nebuchadnezzar. Now Nebu comes from MGE, so maybe a little hard to get for some people, but YSG is on wheel, so it's easier to access. And that march does so much AoE, each of them hits 5 targets, and Nebu has a bit of anti-swarm technology in him as well. Now the second favorite march archer wise I got is Amanitore and Artemisia. They do a lot of damage, and they are one of those match made in heaven kind of pairs. Artemisia kind of does a self-silence, and then Amanitore manages that very well, and they do a lot of damage in open field. Now for the third best pair, I got Rameses and Cyrus. Now this pair is a lot more accessible than the second pair, because second pair both commanders come from MGE. In this case both of them come from Will, so this is in some cases a bit more popular with people, but I do like Amanitore and Artemisia more for the damage. Now if you do want to take a fourth archer march, that's where Gilgamesh comes in, and some people use Tomyris behind Gilgamesh. They kind of don't have that great synergy, but then I think Tomyris kind of goes better with a Honda, but then Gilgamesh and Tomyris I see a lot of people using, so that probably makes sense. I may start using that pretty soon. I mean, I did use it couple times, but then it wasn't anything too special, but I will probably play with it a little bit more, and I think that kind of works. But then Honda is probably the better pair for Tomyris in endgame. Now let's talk about your whole journey through the archer cycles from KvK 1 till now. So you will obviously max YSG. She's like still the best commander. If you're not spending a lot, then definitely don't go for Edward. I mean, if you do get an MG placement, maybe you can get the Tomyris. She's quite useful. But then the first season of Conquest Commander that you should be looking forward to is going to be Rameses, because Rameses comes on wheel. So Rameses YSG, very good march for open field if you're low spender or free to play. So that could be your SOC march. The good thing is YSG comes already maxed probably by the time you enter SOC. And then if you are trying to take a second march, I mean, you kind of need to win 1 MG, and if you do manage to get a placement, because if you want to take a second march archer out, you probably need 1 MG, and if you do get that placement, maybe try unlocking Nebu. Nebu YSG is extremely good, and in that case, you can use Rameses and Cyrus as your second pair. That's a very good second pair as well. Now for me, the second pair was Amanitore and Artemisia, but then I do spend quite a bit on this account. That's why I could get that, but on my other accounts where I don't spend as much, Rameses and Cyrus would be the way to go. Both of them come from Will. And then, I mean, the other option is Gilgamesh, and if you're low spender free to play, Gilgamesh is just not a good commander. He's kind of made for rally. Open field is just average, not that great, so don't go for Gilgamesh, I guess. There should be 2 new archer commanders coming up soonish, so when they come, maybe one of them will be good for open field, but for now, Rameses and YSG, if you're free to play, 1 archer march. If you're low spender, you want to take a second archer march, maybe Nebu and YSG, and the second march can be Rameses and Cyrus. Now the last thing to mention would be all the archer commanders kind of go alright with each other, so even if you don't go for these exact matches, you wouldn't be going too wrong. You'll still get decent results, nothing wrong with that. Hope this video was useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more commander investment guides.